You've probably convinced yourself that you're bad at focusing, that switching between tasks is just how you work now, that multitasking is a necessary skill in a world that demands constant availability. But what if the problem isn't your focus at all? What if multitasking isn't making you faster or more productive? What if it's actually doing the opposite? And the signs have been there all along, hiding in plain sight. Let's start with what multitasking actually looks like in your day. You're writing an email, your phone buzzes, you glance at it, reply to a message, return to the email, realize you've lost your train of thought, reread what you wrote, and continue. A few minutes later, a notification pops up on your screen. You click it, skim an article, close it, and go back to the email again. This feels normal. It feels like working. It even feels efficient because you're handling multiple things at once. But here's what's actually happening. Every time you switch from one task to another, your brain doesn't just flip a switch. It has to disengage from the first task, shift its attention, and then re-engage with the new one. This process takes time. Not much, just a fraction of a second. But those fractions add up. Research suggests that these tiny moments of reorientation can reduce your overall productivity by a significant margin. You're not doing two things at once. You're rapidly switching between two things, and each switch comes with a cost. Now, you might be thinking this doesn't apply to you. You've been multitasking for years, you've gotten good at it. And maybe some tasks are simple enough that the cost doesn't matter. But that's not how it works. The brain doesn't become immune to switching costs through practice. It just gets better at convincing you that you're efficient. The feeling of busyness, the sense that you're managing everything at once, that's not the same as actual performance. Studies show that people who multitask frequently tend to rate themselves as good multitaskers, but when tested, they perform worse than people who focus on one thing at a time. They're slower, they make more mistakes, they retain less information. The uncomfortable part is this: the more you multitask, the more your brain adapts to distraction. You become less able to sustain attention on a single task. Your tolerance for boredom, for the quiet focus required to think deeply, it weakens. You start to need the stimulation of switching. The idea of working on one thing for an extended period starts to feel unbearable. Let's make this concrete. Imagine you're working on a report. It requires thought, structure, some level of depth. You sit down to write. Within 5 minutes, you check your email, then Slack, then your phone. You tell yourself you're just staying on top of things, being responsive. But each time you return to the report, you're starting over in a small way. Your brain has to reload the context. What was I saying? What comes next? Where was I going with this? That reloading process is invisible, but it's costly. What could have taken 30 minutes of focused work now takes an hour, maybe more. And at the end, the quality isn't the same. The ideas aren't as connected. The flow isn't there. The same thing happens in meetings. You're listening to someone speak, but you're also checking your laptop, maybe drafting a response to an email. You think you're keeping up with both. But later, when someone references a point from the meeting, you have no memory of it. You weren't really there. Your attention was split, and neither task got the full version of you. Here's another example. You're reading an article. Halfway through, you switch to another tab, read something else, come back. By the time you finish the original article, you've forgotten the beginning. You might retain the general idea, but the details, the nuance, it's gone. You've read it, but you haven't absorbed it. This isn't about intelligence. It's not about effort. It's about how attention works. Your brain has limited resources. When you divide them, each task gets less, and the division itself, the act of switching, consumes energy that could have gone toward actually doing the work. Now, there's a difference between multitasking and task switching, doing two truly automatic things at once, like walking and talking. That's fine. Your brain can handle that. But when both tasks require cognitive effort, deliberate thought, decision-making, that's when the system breaks down. The reason this matters is that most of the work that requires depth, creativity, problem-solving, it can't be done in fragments. You can't write something meaningful in 2-minute bursts between emails. You can't solve a complex problem while half listening to a meeting. You can't learn something new while scrolling through your phone. And yet this is exactly how many people work now. Not because they want to, but because the environment demands it. Notifications, open office layouts, constant communication, it all pushes you toward fragmented attention. And over time, you adapt. You start to believe this is just how work is, that this is normal. But normal doesn't mean optimal, and it doesn't mean harmless. The truth is, multitasking doesn't just slow you down in the moment. It changes how you think. It rewires your expectations of what focus should feel like. It makes deep work feel harder than it actually is, because your brain has become accustomed to the quick hits of switching, the stimulation, the novelty. When you sit down to focus on one thing, The first few minutes feel uncomfortable. Your mind wants to wander. You want to check something, anything. That discomfort isn't a sign that you're bad at focusing. It's a sign that your brain has been trained to expect interruption. Here's what this doesn't mean. It doesn't mean you should never switch tasks. It doesn't mean every email can wait, or that responsiveness doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you're failing if you get distracted. Life is complicated. Work is complicated. Sometimes you do need to juggle multiple things, but there's a difference between choosing to switch tasks intentionally and letting your attention be pulled in every direction without noticing. There's a difference between responding to something urgent and reflexively checking your phone every few minutes because the silence feels wrong. The point isn't to judge yourself for multitasking. The point is to recognize what it actually costs, to see it clearly, without the story that you're being productive or efficient. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start to notice the pattern, the way your thoughts scatter when you're trying to work, the way tasks take longer than they should, the way you finish the day feeling busy but not accomplished. It's not laziness. It's not poor time management. It's the natural consequence of divided attention, and maybe that's the uncomfortable part. Realizing that the thing you thought was helping you keep up with everything is actually the thing making it harder, that the skill you thought you'd developed, the ability to manage multiple streams of information at once, isn't a skill at all. It's a habit, and it's costing you more than you thought.